Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show.
Hi everyone, this is Allison McIntyre-Rieger, Family and Consumer Sciences professional of 16 years and current Indiana FCCLA state advisor. I am passionate about all things family and consumer sciences, but especially culinary arts and nutrition education. Today's episode is possible because of funding from the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture in support of the National Partnership for Recruiting, Preparing, and Supporting FCS Educators. We've teamed up with the Produce Moms to tell our story. In the show today, you will learn more about LEAD FCS Education, an association of state administrators and state advisors, and discover how they support family and consumer sciences teachers at the local and state level. Thanks for being here and enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Produce Moms Podcast. My name is Lori Taylor. And as you know, we have a very exciting sub-series that we are doing right now to support family and consumer sciences education. And it's all about recruiting, supporting, and retaining these educators that are doing so much in our nation to educate our students and our college students on all sorts of topics. That's one big takeaway I've had from this sub-series. FCS education, it entails a lot. But from the Produce Moms point of view, we applaud this sector of ed because it is the only sector of education where nutrition education and culinary arts education live within the middle school, high school, and we'll learn more today about the college track too, and how they are preparing people for careers in FCS education. Today's guests include Melissa Webb. Melissa is an education programs consultant. She is with the California Department of Education. She also serves as the FCCLA state advisor in California. We have Reno Palombit. Reno is a CTE Workforce Development Specialist. He's coming to us from North Carolina. And we have Kristin Vest. Kristin is a career field specialist, human and sciences education from the Nebraska Department of Education. With that, I'd like to welcome our guests to the show. Kristin, we'll start with you. Any introductions and opening remarks?
Hello, thanks so much for allowing us to be a part of this conversation, Lori, and continuing to spread the amazing work of nutrition, culinary arts educators, and family and consumer sciences professionals across the country. We are excited to share with you and to continue to support this national partnership to recruit, prepare, and support family and consumer sciences educators through our grant. So thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with you today.
Thank you. And Melissa, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Lori, for having us. I'm Melissa Webb. I work as a consultant. In California, we kind of are a little bit different. We do not follow the national program clusters. We actually have 15 CTE industry sectors. So under our family and consumer sciences umbrella, I'm fortunate enough to represent 3 industry sectors. We call them education, child development and family services, fashion and interior design, and hospitality, tourism, and recreation. So in California, we have various consultants who work in their CTE subject area and also support career technical student organizations for the various disciplines. So thank you again for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And Reno, you're also involved with CTE. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lori. I'm really excited to be with you guys today. I was, my background's in family and consumer sciences. I have experience at the state level and was a family and consumer sciences teacher. I got my undergraduate degree from Johnson & Wales University. So I got to take a lot of the same culinary and cooking classes that the chefs took at Johnson & Wales, but then I had all those other components of FCS and then the education courses. And I'm excited. Today I work as a CTE Workforce Development Specialist. So I really work to support business partnerships, the career development program, our career academies, and making sure our programs are aligned to labor market demand.
That's wonderful. It's going to be a great show. And Kristin, coming back to you, for folks that haven't had the opportunity to catch up on this series yet, please tell our audience about the national partnership to recruit, prepare, and support FCS educators.
Absolutely. So as a former family and consumer sciences educator and FCCLA chapter advisor, it gives me great pleasure to continue to work in a different role with the grant at the state level and truly embracing the work nationally of this whole national partnership grant. It's a partnership because it's a connection of 14 different professional organizations and partners who have said, you know what, we are going to address our family and consumer sciences teacher shortage and really truly work to increase the number of highly qualified family and consumer sciences teachers to best meet the needs of our schools and communities and in career and life preparation. And so truly the grant is really an awesome opportunity to connect local school districts and family and consumer sciences teachers to state agencies, so the state departments of education who are working to support those family and consumer sciences teachers currently in the field, and then our teacher educators. So all across the country, our teacher educators who are working hard to prepare our family and consumer sciences teachers, future family and consumer sciences teachers. And so they're all working together to address the need of family and consumer sciences teachers in our workforce. And additionally, a big part of the grant is to help support those teachers who are currently working and teaching to create and distribute resources to support them, to support educator recruitment and preparation, and to continue to promote the family and consumer sciences workforce as opportunities to meet the needs of our schools and communities by promoting and encouraging diverse teachers to reflect our students, and then certainly to help to continue to really share faculty and courses and really kind of create like a clearinghouse of different resources that are available to those who are currently teaching or thinking about teaching family and consumer sciences.
I love that. And Melissa, I'd love to get some remarks from you on how the national partnership is preparing people to become interested in teaching FCS.
Okay, so there's probably two parts to my answer. At first, when I became part of this partnership, it was kind of at the state level, finding other individuals who are interested in helping with various aspects of the campaign as far as teacher recruitment. So in our state, we actually created a teacher task force and have been working really hard and are actually going to be getting some funding this year to promote those efforts, because we do recognize we only have two universities in our state, Sacramento State Northridge University, that offer the teacher pipeline programs to get their credentials. So we really need to work with our post-secondary colleagues and try to make sure that this mission is happening. On the second part of that answer, I was also fortunate starting in January to get to work on one of the campaign's mission on a family and consumer sciences promotional video. So on this committee, we've had different levels in family and consumer sciences, post-secondary, cooperative extension, different parts of our association, FCCLA representation, to all get to be a part of this project. And I really had no clue going into it. There's so many details to consider when you're doing a promotional video to spotlight a campaign that can resonate not only to teachers, administrators, maybe students in an FCS class to really think about wanting to be a teacher. And we've been able to kind of finally get to that little tail end where we've identified teachers across the state that can speak to that message, who are passionate about teaching. And we really feel like this video is going to work amazing to help with the recruitment efforts. And then a part of that is also the marketing piece. And we're working through that piece of how to promote the video, as well as to make sure there's information and resources to support it.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned in your opening remarks that you're a state advisor for FCCLA. Please help our listeners understand, what is FCCLA and how is this organization, a catalyst for preparing students to think about careers in FCS?
Lori, this is a great question. FCCLA stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. When I was an FCS teacher, it was really kind of what got me that job, my first job teaching at Lakewood High School in Long Beach Unified, because they never had an FCCLA chapter. So here I was, a college student coming in. I still didn't have all of my credentials. I was going to be part of the internship I was doing, but they told me they wanted FCCLA to be the first one in their district. So it was my mission to learn everything I could. And I'm really happy it worked out that way, because I can't even imagine ever teaching family and consumer sciences without having FCCLA, which is an integral component of your classroom instruction. It really brings the hands-on opportunities. It gives your students a place to go that leads beyond the classroom, where they have chapter opportunities, regional, state, national. They get to participate in what we call students taking action with recognition, STAR competitions. And usually the class that they're in, there's a reason why they pick that elective class. They are interested in the subject. They have a passion for learning more about it. And by incorporating FCCLA into that subject area, the teacher has now opened a door for that student to go and achieve and be recognized for their work and their accomplishments. These students get to work with industry professionals at various workshops, conferences. They also get to be evaluated by industry partners, their own peers, as well as other family and consumer sciences teachers, to get feedback and recognition for their work that they're learning in their class. So I love FCCLA. I'm very passionate about it. I do spend a lot of my time working on it as a state advisor. But for me, if I'm not able to be a teacher in the classroom, this is like the next best thing, because it really keeps me connected to my chapter advisors, our students, and making sure that we provide those wonderful opportunities for them at the state level.
Yeah, absolutely. And Reno, how about, once FCCLA is obviously a great opportunity within middle school and high school, how does the FCS community connect and engage with students at the university level to get them to start thinking or preparing for a career in FCS?
Yeah, thank you. So I think one of the things, jumping off of what Melissa has shared, that you can do at the college level is, that I found beneficial was to go and evaluate FCCLA competitive events. So going to either a regional competition event or a state competitive event, or even a national competitive event, and serving as an evaluator. You get to see see those competitions from the evaluator's perspective. And that gives you a lot of insight into being able to then work with your students when you're a teacher, when you're a family and consumer sciences teacher. There's other ways that you can connect with FCCLA as a post-secondary student, as a college student, providing trainings or workshops, going to conferences and exhibiting, sharing with FCCLA members in high school what college is like. So, recruiting them to the field of FCS. A lot of times those college voices resonate really closely with those high school students. So there's lots of opportunities there as well. I would say in addition to that, observations and micro teaching were really helpful to me. So observing as many teachers as I could, especially in my early years in college. So when I was a freshman or sophomore, and then micro teaching. So, picking a specific lesson, a specific topic, taking maybe not even the full class period, but going in and teaching, a 20-minute or a 30-minute micro lesson on a specific topic. And then debriefing about that with the teacher who I taught it with would be very valuable, and to start building those skills, those teaching skills. I think going to teacher conferences is great when you're in college, you start to build a network, you start to hear about job opportunities, you start to hear about what's, and just start getting connected to those professional communities. So those are really valuable. And then building your technical skills and developing your own kind of professional learning plan to do that. One of the things that I think is challenging with family and consumer sciences, but is also one of the things I love about it, is the scope of it. You're taking classes in interior design and child development and culinary arts and food and nutrition. So the gamut can be really wide. And so one of the things that I've seen from really successful teachers is that they took time to maybe take some extra classes at the community college. If there was a particular discipline that they knew they wanted to teach in, so if they knew they wanted to be a food and nutrition teacher, then maybe they would go and take an extra college at the an extra class at the community college, or sign up for an extra class at the university in that discipline. So those, starting to build those technical skills in areas where you really want to focus and you really want to teach in that specific content area within family and consumer sciences. And then just having a general curiosity. Podcasts are great. There's great book lists. We're at this wonderful time where our country's having great conversations about equity and racial equity and inclusiveness. And so I think there's a lot of resources out there that you can start to read or listen to podcasts, just to start to get a better understanding about the students who are going to be different from you. Starting to think about, what does that racial equity lens look like when you're a teacher? What are your LGBT plus students going through, and what are their perspectives? How do English language learners thrive in a school system? So those are all things that you can start to explore through podcasts and books, and just start to build that general curiosity.
Fantastic points. Thank you. And Reno, pre-show, you and I spoke about how you're involved at the district level in North Carolina. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about the important aspects of supporting FCS education at the district level. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I work for Johnston County Public Schools, which is a school district. It's one of the larger school districts in North Carolina. We have 8 traditional high schools and 2 early colleges, one with a focus on career and technical education. And so we support CTE programs at both the middle schools and the high schools in that district. I think that there's a few things that we do at the district level. One of the most important things that we do, which is probably one of the least fun, is fiscal and policy compliance. And so there's lots of laws and rules and regulations that govern career and technical education, of which family and consumer sciences is a part of. And those are going to vary greatly from state to state. Some states have state funds that they add to CTE funds. Other states don't. Some local school districts add funds to go towards career and technical education. So it's a really complex system with a lot of different buckets of money, and each of those buckets of money have different regulations around them. So for example, if I'm thinking about my FCS program and a food and nutrition program, we have to use one bucket of money for the groceries for that teacher. So we are taking her receipts and establishing purchase orders to provide the groceries for the foods labs that they're doing. But that comes out of one bucket of money, and we can't use like federal money for that. But if that teacher wanted to go to a conference to develop some more skills, and then we can use federal money for that. Or if there was a piece of equipment like a commercial food dehydrator that wanted to incorporate into the program, then we could use federal money for that. So managing all of those fiscal and policy compliance issues is a really important part of what we do at the district level. So I've already alluded to some other things, like making sure teachers have access to equipment, as much as possible that equipment is up to date and aligned to industry standards. They have the supplies that they need to teach their curriculum. There is a policy that we can't use our funds to provide supplies that are provided to all the other teachers. So that's another kind of component or complexity in that. Another challenge with equipment is we can't purchase anything with CTE funding that's built into the building. So a piece of equipment that we can use for CTE funds has to be movable. It can't be built in. So like for a culinary arts kitchen, we can purchase like an oven to put into that kitchen, but we can't purchase the hood, the exhaust system that goes into that. That has to be purchased with other pools of money, other pockets of money. So providing access to professional development, supporting teachers to go to conferences, paying registration fees for that teacher and their travel expenses are things that we can do. Supporting FCCLA. So we can, this is going to vary from state to state, but we can provide funds for supporting FCCLA chapters and making sure those students have those opportunities. We can monitor, we can help with instruction, monitoring instruction, and providing feedback to teachers. And then one of the other things that we do that I get to do a lot of is employer and community engagement. So building relationships with employers in our community and opening up doors to opportunities for students to engage with those employers and for teachers to engage with those employers.
That's great. And Kristin, I'd love to get your remarks from the point of view of, the Nebraska Department of Education on not only how you support the district, but also how do you support the actual FCS educator?
Absolutely. So I think, Melissa said this, she's like, it's one of the best parts of the job is because you're connected to teachers and students. And so I think that's so true, because I think that's probably a highlight for anyone is to be able to be available. And so I think that's what I would lead with is being available for those teachers, for individual, sometimes they thought processing, if I could pull my thoughts together. Sometimes that's what a teacher needs. And so I think at that district level, it's just being available to listen to them about whatever is going on, because many times they are a single teacher department. They're the only person. And so they don't have a colleague to say, across the hall, like a fellow math teacher or something that said, hey, I'm wrestling with this. I'm trying to do this, implement this project in my classroom, and it's not going well, or I'm struggling to get kids to show up for an FCCLA meeting or whatever that might be. And so it's that availability to that individual teacher to listen to them, to find out what's on their heart, what's going on, and maybe not provide the solution, because sometimes we don't need the solution to the problem. We just need to talk to someone and to share and connect with them. And so I think that connection building, that being available to help them work through whatever the situation might be, and maybe take then action, because maybe it's an advocacy situation in which they need another voice, perhaps, to back them up on something that they might be dealing with, or helping a school administrator understand the value of family consumer sciences education, or what courses they might be teaching and how they best align to the workforce needs within their community. But I think truly being able to be available to them provides the very best support to our teachers.
Yeah, that's great. And Melissa, anything you'd like to add from your point of view in the state of California?
Yeah, Kristin said it really well. Being available, answering those phone calls, text messages, emails, lots and lots of emails, so that the teachers know that our job as a consultant is to provide them with technical assistance, letters of support, maybe a site visit. We do some program monitoring when we want to recognize our high quality CTE FCS programs. So making sure they're meeting the 12 elements of high quality CTE, which of course includes making sure they know how to run an advisory committee, that they know how to integrate FCCLA or just start a chapter, or pair them up with a mentor who can assist them. So we're really kind of just there for them to answer questions, be available, communicate, and again, try to provide support. In our state, in California, we're really fortunate that we have contract dollars. So I oversee 2 contracts. One is specifically for our FCS professional development project. So we've had this contract for over 20 years, ever since I was a teacher. And so we're lucky in our agriculture and family and consumer sciences office that we have these funds so that we can put on workshops. This past year, we've been doing virtual forums. So it gives teachers an opportunity to see and Zoom with other teachers and collaborate. Again, like Kristin said, they may not have people at their local school to do that with. So we want to provide them an opportunity to network, learn some best practices, or just maybe they need a place to vent in a safe place. And so just giving them those resources is amazing. We also have an annual teacher conference for FCS professionals. This past year, we partnered with our post-secondary California affiliate of the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences, because we've always just had secondary teachers meet and convene for their professional development. And now we're really seeing we really need to partner with post-secondary so we can, again, provide that seamless transition of curriculum ideas, just networking, maybe to develop some articulation agreements. So that's a big part of what I do as well. And also we do, and we're again fortunate, our state provides each of our 6 CTSOs, Career Technical Student Organizations. So for us, it's FCCLA with almost $80,000 of chapter support. And again, they have to follow certain criteria to get access to those funds. But again, it just helps the chapter to start, to give them kind of a baseline of some funding. In California, we also have something called Career Technical Education Incentive Grant Funds, as well as Perkins. And for both schools and programs in CTE have to be measured up against the 12 elements of high quality CTE, which to me, I think that's a great idea, because then again, it holds them accountable to making sure they're offering work-based learning opportunities, they're offering FCCLA, they have an advisory. So really all those strong elements of what we see in successful programs.
That's great. My goodness, as each of you are speaking, the 3 themes here: recruiting, supporting, retaining the FCS educators. And wow, the amount of support, it runs deep. And, Reno, I'd love to come back to you now. Support is a means to prevent burnout, but let's be real. I mean, burnout does happen in every industry. And I imagine it's, with what educators have been facing over the last 2 years in the light of the, pandemic from 2020 and this most recent academic year, I imagine that teacher burnout is a critical concern at a level it never has been before. So I'd love to get your remarks on that. What are some key factors that y'all are working on right now as it relates to retaining teachers, and specifically anything you'd like to share on, the causes or the prevention of teacher burnout?
Yeah, for sure. And you're spot on. I think we're starting to see a lot of teachers who this year was a lot for them. This year was a lot, for them to navigate. It was a lot for everybody in the education world to navigate, but it was a lot, and I think in some ways we were very, successful, in terms of, you think about a whole system of public schools and across 50 states having to kind of turn on a dime and change the way that they've been doing business for over 100 years in many ways. And I think, what was achieved is to be honored and celebrated in some regards, but it was very difficult. And that burnout is very real. So some things that we've done in our office to support teachers is, I think, just making them feel celebrated. So in addition to all of those ways that we support them at the state level and at the district level that we've been doing, it was important for us this year to celebrate them, to show them how much we appreciate them. We can't do a lot, unfortunately. Funds are limited, and as I mentioned previously, there's policies around those funds. But we were able to do a couple of things, on Teacher Appreciation Day, sending them all a message with a little treat, just to say thank you for kind of making it through this year, and that we appreciated them. And so just communicating that appreciation is really important. And you can't overdo it. I mean, I think it needs to come from the state. I think it needs to come from school districts. It needs to come from parents. It needs to come from community members. It needs to come from their building administrators. And so just, really celebrating them and making them feel appreciated. In addition to that, I think there's some things that FCS professionals can do. FCS teachers can do to prevent burnout. First of all, Melissa said it right at the beginning. FCCLA was such a critical part of my sustainability as a teacher. It was when things got difficult or when times got tough, FCCLA motivated me to move forward. When I would see my students walking across the stage, getting recognition, my students who, that maybe was the first time that they'd ever had a teacher invested in them, that took them outside of the district and took them and invested in them in an opportunity in this way and believed in them. A lot of times my FCCLA members, they might not have been involved in other things where they had a teacher do that. So it really gave me a lot to fill my bucket and feel like I was making a significant difference. And so that was an important piece. Getting connected to professional associations like AAFCS, ACTE, those professional associations can be very powerful in developing a support system and a support network. So that's a critical step that FCS teachers can take. And then lastly, I would just say, establishing boundaries. What are the things I'm comfortable doing at home and what are the things I'm not comfortable doing at home? So for example, for me, when I was a teacher, I hated grading. So I would not take grading home because I didn't want to bring that into my home life. But I loved lesson planning. So if I needed to, occasionally I would plan lessons at home. But I set that boundary that I wasn't going to grade at home. And so finding out what those boundaries are for you is important. FCCLA, making it manageable, making it part of the classroom, that was an important boundary for me. Was making sure that it wasn't an after school activity, that it was in part of our day-to-day. That made it more sustainable for me. And it made it easier for me to be the FCCLA advisor when it was part of the day. And so that was a boundary that I established. And then lastly, I got a wonderful piece of advice when I was in college, which is don't hang out in the teacher's lounge too long. That message meant surround yourself with positive people and positive media. If you find yourself in groups of with colleagues of other teachers, or in social media groups, or at any group where you don't feel like where you're not, check in with yourself. And if you're not feeling like that group is supporting, uplifting, enriching you, making you feel positive, then that's a group that you need to put a boundary around and you need to, to remove yourself from. And there was times in my career where I had to do that. And I think,
Reno, that's great advice, whether you're in the field of education or not. That is great advice.
Right. Yeah. It can be difficult at times and it requires you to really check in with yourself and reflect, but it's an important step for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I have so enjoyed this episode. I continue to just be inspired with each and every one of these episodes as we're speaking to people that are the heart and soul of the education system and really the movers and the shakers within FCS education. So thank you again to all three of you for being part of this. Thank you to everyone who has made this, little mini series that we've got going on at the Produce Moms possible. And believe it or not, it's time for our closing remarks, which doesn't feel possible, but we want to hear from all three of our amazing guests in closing remarks. And Melissa, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Reno, and Kristin, we'll have you sign us off from the show. But from me and everyone at the Produce Moms, thank you so much for what you do. And, I want to reiterate it. We touched about it briefly there with those remarks that Reno shared and I shared at the end of the show. Hats off to everyone in education for keeping this nation going and keeping the learning going in America over the last 2 academic years. I'm a mom of elementary and middle school students myself, and just couldn't be more grateful for the wonderful people in education right now. So with that, Melissa, I welcome you to the mic for closing remarks.
Well, again, Lori, thank you. This is the first podcast I've ever gotten to do, so I really appreciate this opportunity. I really enjoy getting to work with Kristin and Reno. We are all a part of the board of Lead FCS, and I think just from the state perspective, it's just nice being able to have colleagues, at our level that we can listen to, be inspired by, share best practices, share resources with each other. So I'm just really grateful to be a part of this wonderful network I have.
Thank you. And Reno?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this podcast. My final thought would just be to anyone who's listening, what we need the most to move family and consumer sciences forward is for you to talk positively about family and consumer sciences, share how important it is for you or your son or daughter or child, talk to community members, principals, school officials, elected officials, school board members, and just let them know that you appreciate that your child has the opportunity to take family and consumer sciences classes. And just, letting them know that is one of the most important things that that helps our profession move forward. So thank you.
Of course. And Kristin, please sign us off from the show. We're glad you're here again. And gosh, this has been a great episode. Thank you all. But Kristin, for the closing remarks and final goodbye.
Thank you so much, Lori and the Produce Moms. Thank you so much for hosting us. So we're continuing to raise awareness regarding nutrition education, culinary arts education, all stemming from our amazing family and consumer sciences teachers. Thank you so much. As Reno said, talking positively, sharing the great things about family and consumer sciences. We've expanded and added 5 brand new programs across the state of Nebraska this year, which is exciting. And those are exciting, positive things that are taking place in our states and within our communities. So thank you so much, to our current and future family and consumer sciences teachers. You're amazing, and you are preparing our students the very best ways that you know how, and continuing to do an amazing job at that. And so thank you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to share our work, and also to share the work of the National Partnership to recruit, prepare, and support family and consumer sciences educators. We are thankful to say yes to FCS, and we encourage you to do the same.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.